What's the most Gen X thing you've ever done? I had a boyfriend who won me over by being able to fit an entire N64 in the pocket of his JNCOs. This is the criteria I use to this very day to determine if I like someone or not. I can't do that, cause I don't have an N64, but I can fit 2 packs of Oreos per pocket in my jeans. I don't even know what happened to Junko, it just stopped existing. It died on the way back to its home planet. I pretended to go to the library, but went to the arcade instead, but I had previously spent hours pounding nickels with a hammer, until they were the diameter of a quarter. My mom calls it the library. Poking my fingers through the holes in the knees of my jeans while watching MTV, and talking to my friend on my landline phone in my room, that was plugged to the base in the kitchen, discussing Northeast's games, and how Pearl Jam got to the White House to meet Bill Clinton. I made an entire cassette full of farts using my tape recorder with my friend. Lol, this is awesome. Yes, I did this. We also farted over songs at strategic points. Good times. LMAO. My cousin and I used to do this. We would carry the recorder with us everywhere. When it was time for a fart, we'd signal each other, go somewhere discreet, give a radio introduction, then give a post-fart analysis. Good times. Starter jackets. Starter jackets everywhere. All my friends had starter jackets, but I had to be different. So I got myself a triple fat goose. I had skinny legs, and that thing came down to mid-thigh. I looked like a black poof with 2 sticks holding it up. Early life, went to a NKOTB concert wearing a puff paint, neon sweatshirt that I made myself. My bangs were an extra tall wave that night, must have been a storm a-brewing on the back of my head. Later, pencil thin brows, bejeweled bra under a wife beater, BB necklace, lunchbox purse riding down the road listening to Sublime, and flagpole sitter, while avoiding writing out double-spaced history definitions in my Trapper Keeper. It was cool cause it was vintage lol. You just described 12-year-old me to a T. I had forgotten about puffy paint until just now. Snuck out of town and drove into the city to see Sonic Youth play while I was still in high school. Friends and I ditched a Model UN conference to see Social Distortion. Cost our school their first delegation award. You made the right choice. Frick yeah, Social D. Nothing. Doing stuff is lame. Shrugs while leaning against a wall. This is actually one of the best Gen X answers here. Found pronoun in the woods while mixing sometime in 1988. Me and 3 friends all around age 10 were exploring the woods behind our neighborhood. There was a big cow pasture bordering the woods. We decided we would build a fort in a small depression right at the border of forest and pasture. Turns out, this depression had been used previously. Wrapped in a blue members only jacket we found the Motherlode, Hustler, Penthouse, and Barely Legal. It changed everything. The world changed overnight. I could hear Ali North testify on TV down the hall, while I stared wonderingly at she-male porn on the back pages of Hustler and shock at girls who looked barely older than me in Barely Legal. Woods pornman, thank you. Stand by me sequel confirmed. I'll bring the leeches. Vern. Thought that command line, DOS, was superior to Windows 90 lies. I remember thinking that Windows was a just fad that wouldn't pick up and we'd all stay on DOS for good. And at launch Windows 95 it was total garbage. I felt vindicated. Then they fixed it. As for the web, I had heard of rumblings about it, but I liked my Telnet and FTP, so like how could it be better? Well, one day I was hanging out with my co-DJ for our college radio show. He was shocked that I haven't even seen the WWW yet, so he brought up Mosaic on the computer lab PC and showed me around. I wasn't impressed until about 5 minimums later when he showed me this web page where some dude put Pop-Tarts in a toaster and then jammed it until the Pop-Tarts exploded. Kinda like the first run at a Mythbusters concept. It was a hilarious read and I was hooked. This must have been back 94. Made a mixtape from my binder full of CDs. I ripped all my CDs and used Winamp to play the MP3s from my laptop through my car stereo using a cassette converter. Winamp? Now that's a name I haven't heard in a long time. It really whips the llama's fanny. It's apparently still around. I walked into a coworker's office, and he had it on one of his monitors, listening to CDs he had ripped. I could compose a text using a physical 12-button phone keypad faster than I could type on a keyboard. T9. You know it. Played MUDs on AOL while chatting with strangers on AIM. Yeah MUDs, and getting excited because you upgraded your modem from 9600 to 28.8K. So fast. I was forbidden to watch The Simpsons or Oseen. Also, my mom was very concerned that satanic cultists would try to lure me with Dungeons and Dragons and forbade me from playing. I had never even played Dungeons and Dragons before and didn't even know anyone who had. The satanic panic of the 80s. Satan worshippers were in our music, on our TV shows, and hiding in the shadows just trying to convert us tweens to Satanism. Lived through the satanic panic. It did far more damage to my belief in religion than it did to my desire to play Dungeons and Dragons lol. Stayed up all night on my 15th birthday playing Zork on my brother's Commodore 64. We were visiting, and I didn't have a computer at home, while listening to Madonna's Like a Virgin tape, my actually birthday present. That part of the novel Ready Player One really spoke to me. My husband was all excited last week because he found a way to get Zork on his iPhone. Tried to get our kids engaged with it, and they had absolutely no interest. I imagine that was quite the ride. The glory of finding an old joy followed swiftly by the pain of not being able to share it with the ones he loves. Early life. Went to a NKOTB concert wearing a puff paint neon sweatshirt that I made myself. My bangs were an extra tall wave that night. Must have been a storm a brewing on the back of my head. Later, pencil thin brows, bejeweled bra under a wife beater, BB necklace, lunchbox purse riding down the road listening to Sublime, and flagpole sitter, while avoiding writing out double-spaced history definitions in my Trapper Keeper. It was cool cause it was vintage lol. Early life. Went to a NKOTB concert wearing a puff paint neon sweatshirt that I made myself. My bangs were an extra tall wave that night. Must have been a storm a brewing on the back of my head. You just described 12-year-old me to a T. I had forgotten about puffy paint until just now. Was unsupervised all summer, from after breakfast until dinner, equipped with only a bike and an imagination. Didn't get kidnapped, and didn't get molested. Didn't wear a helmet or sunscreen. How did I make it this far? To clarify, dad was at work and mom was home all day, but we weren't. We were busy playing in creeks, making up games, building tree forts in places we definitely weren't allowed, swimming, running in the rain, and splashing in puddles. Yes, actual freedom. We got kicked out of the house after breakfast and weren't allowed back inside until the street lights came on. Rode bikes, built weapons, caught frogs, explored storm sewers, pretended to be astronauts, ninjas, G-Force, animals and or superheroes, and had epic battles with armies of Star Wars figures. No one died, no one was kidnapped, no one had phones, although we did rip or tear a lot of clothing, especially knees and zippers for some reason. We would have been great friends. Glad you survived the outside too. I kept a Flavor Saver patch of hair under my bottom lip for far too long. Like, well into my mid-30s. My brother, Gen X, did this too. Was your tongue pierced? Sadly, no. Never once had snoo without a condom from 16 to about 30 for fear of dying from AIDS. The fear was real. This is so real. Unprotected snoo was absolutely a death sentence in our minds. In high school, we did a tribute to Freddie Mercury to raise money for AIDS awareness. Gen Zers have a totally different reaction from other generations to anything dealing with AIDS. Reed and the band played on as a teen, and was never the same.
Don't forget to like and subscribe. And ring the bell.